Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, all set for Republic Day?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dhirendra.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, good morning. So, meanwhile, others are coming. So, I believe a few students are left. So, let me play a random game. Let me just select some random person and he will, let's see, what he has to say. So, how about Tala? Tala Samar, would you like to introduce yourself and say something?
Good morning, sir.
Tala Samar. Okay, so probably the let me find the next lucky person who could be Amolika Bansal. Would you like to say something? Introduce yourself. Okay, so I think she was also not expecting. Yukti Rao, would you like to say something? Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, great.
Good morning,
So
sir.
we can get started as long as probably after 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, so Manas, how are you doing?
Great, sir. Great, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, good. So I think so all good for your side as well.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, good morning. Harsh, how are you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good here. So okay, so I think
Sir, I
we
love
can
your
get started.
backdrop. The
Sorry?
beach, your beach backdrop.
Yeah, I'm at the beach. What
Sir,
should
let's go to Goa, sir.
yeah, we can have a class probably. I think if the class would have been person, so
Yes.
I think we have some programs through which people go for outdoors activities. Yeah, so we can have class outdoors,
That'd be
right?
fun, sir.
Right. So let's hope. Yeah, you guys will come to campus soon, and we can have many other interesting activities and so on.
Do you have any idea, sir, when hostels will open?
Uh, so this semester is online, right? So next semester, next semester will be in person,
Oh, yes.
hopefully,
Okay.
and certainly by that time, I think the campus will open again. And since vaccine is already here, right? So I hope
Mhm.
things will get better soon. And even before, if some students want to probably come again, so there is a lot of admin level discussion need to be done, and hopefully, yeah, the things will be because the PhD student and the some of the master students are already in the campus, so we have allowed them. So hopefully soon it will open for BTech student as well.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay, nice. Okay, so let's get started. So I hope you are doing good, and so let me share the screen and let's get started. So in the last two classes we were discussing about interaction design as a process. What are the process? What are the different activities that we do? So let's go ahead with the same lecture. So we have discussed, so interaction design is a process in which we focused on discovering requirement, designing to fulfill requirement, producing prototype, evaluating them. So if you recall, we have discussed about uh, double diamond design, right? Process. So if you have to divide these process, right? So how will you divide into different diamonds? The two diamonds that we had. Someone want to recall? Someone recall it? What do you mean? How do you define this? Anyone?
So there are 4 Ds which are discover, define,
4 Ds.
develop,
Very good.
dev-
Siddharth. Go
develop,
ahead.
and deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And in discover, we give an insight to the problem. We see what all the problem is and define see various areas where the problem is prevalent. In
Mm-hmm.
define, we focus upon in what area we should work, what should be our goal, and what different things we can do.
Right.
Develop is we develop a design or we design the thing that which will help the customer or the user in solving their problems, and deliver is providing the solution to the user.
Very, very nice. Very nice. So if I recall, I guess it was Priya or someone else. So we discussed about there are 2 phases, right? I mean, how do you basically define 2 phases, when it is going up, when it is going down? So I think if she is here, probably we can discuss at least briefly that part again. Okay, so we'll be coming to that. So I hope it is clear. So you have rightly mentioned. So yeah, so interaction design process, it's kind of involved 4 Ds, right? 2 phases. So the first part is more about, yeah, so discovering, then defining, then developing, and finally the delivery. So delivery is more when you give it to the real user and it keep using it. And so in this way, basically you can involve user in different phases, right? So for example, when you're discovering, defining the problem space, then probably you may involve user at different level, because in the last few classes we have discussed we may need to involve user at different phases, right? So in order to provide the, Jatin, you want to say something? Jatin? Yeah, so we discuss about, so please mute yourself, Jatin, if you don't have anything to ask, right? So we discuss about focus on discovering requirement, designing, and producing prototypes. So producing prototype is the part of the uh, designing part, right? So where basically you're coming with some kind of system. So prototype is one way of uh, kind of designing, right? What are the other ways you can think of? What are the other ways we have discussed earlier?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Arjun.
Sir, this double design is more similar like an 5 stages of interaction design, like empathize, ideate, test, prototype.
Yeah, it's kind of, because as I said earlier as well, so the double diamond design is
Okay,
more,
sir.
which somehow UK based design consortium has proposed. So different people propose different ways of doing so. So for example, when we discuss about the you can say overall project timeline or project life cycle in the coming slides, and you'll see, I mean, the different people propose in different ways. So yeah, so it's kind of related. It's kind of related. So is there college lectures tomorrow? No, there will be no classes tomorrow, because tomorrow is the, yeah, so it's public holiday. Yeah, so focus on user and their goals, because if you recall, I mean, in many lectures we have discussed in the past, so often we want to build a user-centered design, right? Because end of the day, you are building any system, any interactive system, for whom? For users to use it. And these system basically should address the different issues that you want to cater, right? So always there is a trade-off to balance conflicting requirement. So as we have also discussed in previous class, often requirements are such that which are conflicting in nature. So in that case, you need to make a trade-off, which one you want to uh, consider and which one probably you want to highlight as a limitation. Even if it is not limitation, you can say, so no, this is something not possible. So we have discussed a number of examples. Anybody want to highlight one when we're talking about what could be the conflicting requirement? Anyone?
Safety and enjoyment.
Safety and
enjoyment as like pleasure that is concerned with the product.
Right. Any other example? Anybody?
Cost and utility.
Okay. Okay, nice. Yeah, so I mean there are many. So similarly, like cost and the features, or probably many other things you can think of. So we discuss another one, and hopefully that is clear. So next we have discussed in the previous class, there are 4 approaches. So one is the user-centered design, one is the activity-centered design, system design, and finally the genius design. Anybody recall what they are? Yes, Ariman. Ariman, go ahead.
So my hand raised was for a previous question, not for this one.
Anyways, I mean now you can answer this question as well.
So according to me, sir, user-centered design may be actually is generally focused around the user. That is, what does the user need and its specification. Activity-centered design is that it is focused on what kind of activity the product performs, and it is only related to that matter. And system designs is like having more easy and efficient systems which can ensure easy learnability and memorability for the user. And genius design is like which concerns about all of the things that are discussed and probably giving more features in addition to that.
Very nice. So yeah, very nice. So it's more, I mean, just to rephrase or probably just to, okay, so it seems probably more people want to try. Yeah, sure. Why not Aditya? Aditya, please go ahead.
Sir, in user-centered design, main focus is on the users. Like in each step, we involve the users. In activity-centered design, either the users are matlab, cannot be included in the process, like while designing for the babies, or they are involved only in the behavioral aspects.
Very nice. Siddhant, Bhavesh, you want to add anything?
Sir, I wanted to say,
Sir, I wanted to add that in genius design, it is done by an expert such that it becomes cheap and less time is required for completion of the design.
Right. Okay, Bhagesh, you want to add anything?
Sir, I was saying that, sir, in user-centered design, like we need to keep in mind these resources also that the user has, because if we are designing software for that instance, if the user does not have adequate hardware to run it properly, our good design will also end up in a bad design kind of thing, and the user will not be able to make fruitful result out of it.
Right. Yeah. So just to I mean recap. So okay, so that's very nice. More people want to say something. Yes. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to ask one thing that, sir, in a genius design, sir, is it about that making more alternatives and then choosing one, or making less alternatives and then choosing one in genius design?
So in genius design, as it is kind of expert, right? So it means, I mean, expert often probably not come up with many solution or many alternatives. So it's more, I mean, based on his experience, he often come up with probably the best or probably a very few. And he take the feedback, he or she take the feedback from the users, and that's it, right? So in that way, definitely there won't be too many things, because there is not much interaction with the user, right? So it's more like the genius or the expert knows everything, right? And they know the need of the user, they know how to design them, and so on. So that's why, I mean, if there is everything is clear, so it means there is not not much alternative, but definitely alternative is there, so that the genius will also ask, okay, so which one to choose, but definitely not be too many as compared to others. Yeah, Bhavya.
Sir, it's Bhavya. And sir, can you give me an example of systems design?
Yeah, we are coming to that. I will cover. Anything else, or probably anybody want to answer Bhavya's question?
So system design can be have a system design can be acted by as an example such heavy performance laptop. So like a poor person can't buy that, and but a richer person can use the laptop and make out of it. So
Okay,
and
nice try.
many person like want to play game, but they required high performance laptops.
System design is basically satisfy some specified requirements, not all people requirement, all user requirement.
The system design is involve very complex systems, and it is not necessary that everyone can use it. Only some special training or thing is required for system design to be. The users needs special training for it.
Like
Okay,
aeroplane
so
cockpit.
yeah, so let me summarize. So in case of user-centered design, so the user is in center. I mean, from the name itself clear, the user in center. It means we are going to ask user everything, right? So what is the need? What is the goals? And in fact, I mean, users can say, okay, how to design it. So here the designer's role is only to translate what user want, right? I mean, he don't add much, you can say comment or so. It's more like it's your more user driven, right? User centered design it. What is the user's goals? What is the user's need? And based on that, the designer will simply translate that into the technology, or you can say the
Excuse me,
prototype.
sir. So I think there's a problem with the Zoom. Some people are not able to connect to Zoom, and many people are getting disconnected even right
Yes,
now.
sir. In IP
Okay.
class also it is happening.
Okay.
There were
So
250 people at the start. Now there were 229 when I last saw. So they are
please,
automatically
so
getting disconnected.
yeah, so I get the issue. So what you have done in the previous class then? I mean, and what should I do?
Sir, actually, in
We
previous
couldn't
class
do
it happened
anything.
at last. In last only.
Sir, you may switch your video. Switch off your video.
Okay, so I
No,
did
the
my
problem is with Zoom. Not
The
with,
yeah. So I
problem
Yeah.
with
understand problem
Zoom
with the
app.
Zoom and something I cannot do anything. So the best I think we can do, they can look at the recordings. In the worst case, if they are not able to join, at the same time, I will also escalate this to the IT team, whatever the issue that you're facing. So most of so it's like people join it and they drop from the call, right?
Yes, sir.
yeah, it's like right now there
And
are now
when we are trying to
226
connect,
people.
it's showing
227.
connecting and connecting only.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So I'm sorry. I think I cannot do much in that front at the moment, at least. But anyways, I will confirm. I will inform the IT team, and at the same time, since we are having the recording, the people who are unfortunately not able to join the class can refer to the recordings, or anything other than that. If you
Yes,
think
sir, we can stream for them.
no,
On
streaming is not something. Streaming is same as. I mean, I feel it's better to have recording than stream. And also, I have not done streaming before. I don't know what is the much benefit. Yeah, so what you have done, I mean, can you tell me what are the solution that you discussed, or I mean, the taken by the previous class?
So keep
Mm.
trying
As
only.
such, there was no solution, sir. Actually, people miss their in-class exercises also because of this. There
Okay,
was no
okay,
actually no solution to this.
okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
On
think,
on.
yeah,
Sir
so this is
said
something we can notify to Zoom since it's a licensed, I mean, the account. So I think, yeah, they need to solve it, right? They don't have any other option. So, but anyways, let me convey this message, the issue to the IT team, and hopefully they will take it from there.
And also say you don't have to turn off your video, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, okay. So, okay, then in that case, I can turn on my video, right? So let me know, I mean, if I have to turn it off again, I can do so. Okay, so yeah, so we have just discussed about the user-centered design, right? So let me repeat again, just for your reference. As I said, in case of user-centered design, the aim is to keep user in center, understand what all the needs and the goals user have, target user, and the designer's role is very much limited to this translating, or you can say the building what the user's need is, and getting all the requirement from user, and finally produce the design or probably the solution. In case of activity centered design, so here we are of course the users is also involved here, but here we are not focusing much on what user want, what the user goal is. It's more about task, because the task is more well defined. I mean, because you are going to solve, provide solution to some activity or task, right? In that case, I mean, you only want to involve user mainly to understand what behavior they have, what are their preferences are, right? And so on. So in this way, the designers are basically trying to come up with the activities and things, and they only involve user to understand the way user behave, the way user use the system, the way the different users have the preference. System design is about a kind of very broad, you can say very holistic process, you can say holistic activity, the things where basically you involve user, you involve even the hardware, you involve even the system, you involve even the all the stakeholder in the system, including user, designer, expert, and everyone, and including the hardware and everything. So here system design, how you are presenting a holistic diagram, a holistic system to solve some complex problem. So that problem could be, so for example, in the previous lecture we have discussed, so what if you have to build a banking system software, right? So banking system software involves a number of activities, a different type of stakeholders are there. So when you have to come up with this kind of very complex system, you need to consider everything which is involved, and you need a proper way of conducting everything. So that involves user-centered design, that involves activity-centered design, and so on, right? And finally, the genius design. So in case of genius design, as we have discussed and many of you highlighted, so here the expert are there. So and the people often come up with the genius design for several reasons. When they have to come up with the, you can say, the prototype very fast, because often happens, at least when you go to the industry. So if someone has to have, if someone has to have any project, say from government or probably other clients or outsource from someone and so on, right? So often people, before giving to the project to you, they want to know, do you have the capability to do so? What if, can you, if you have given the problem, what kind of system you can come up with? So that's why in that case, they need to come up with kind of very fast prototype. So it means they do have very much less time, and still they have to come up with some kind of system which they can showcase. So for example, when any building is about to build, right? So you might have seen, I mean, before the foundation stone of the building is laid down, I mean, you see there is a whole building structure prototype is there, right? So it means, I mean, there are some experts which already basically come up with such kind of system. So in that case, when you have less time and also involving user takes time, not only time, but also the money and also the cost involved. So that's why, I mean, some people prefer uh, genius design over the probably other part, especially for the prototype and so on. So one more thing, basically, there are different trade-off between what kind of system do you use. So there are several research which happened. So one research says that if you involve user a lot, the user experience basically go down, right? So if you are going to user involve, say in the all the D that we have discussed, so um, whether it's a kind of discover, whether it's a define, develop, deliver, and so on. So if you involve user too much, then the user experience go down. And if user experience is a kind of metric to judge the performance, or you can say the success of the system, it means, which indicates that if you're going to involve user too much, it means the user experience is going to be down, and basically product is not going to do well, right? So that's why we have discussed in previous class as well, there should be some trade-off. And what this trade-off could be, again, it's a very difficult question to answer, and that depends on, again, on from activity to activity, that depends on, you can say, the overall problem to problem and so on, right?
Sir,
So
one query.
yes.
Yes, sir. I was asking, sir, that if genius, that is a professional, is actually designing, then what a professional focuses on, either the activity, that is the task, or the user centered. I mean, what is his priority? The genius's priority, user centered or activity centered?
I think it's more system, towards system, right? Because how the whole system will look like.
All right, sir.
Sir, in user-centered design, sir, how the user experience go down when we increase the user-centered design to a large extent? So I didn't get it.
So it happens like that. So it happens like if you're going to involve user too much, right? Again, I mean, there are study, as I said, the research paper which justify this, and you can think it more in that way, right? So you can think it like, so uh, what if, so if you're going to involve user, so users often changes mind as well, right? So it means there is a lot of rework, and often users, some of the user expectations are too high. So there are user expectations are too high, right? So in that case, it's more like you come up with probably some solution and they think, no, so this is not something I'm looking for. Probably bring me the moon from the space, right? I mean, so it means there is expectation management should be there. So if you're going to involve user too much, so probably their expectations are too much, there is a lot of rework. And that's how, I mean, despite whatever the amount of effort you can put in, right, I mean, they are not going to satisfy. So that is the reason, I mean, I believe, I mean, if you are going to involve user too much, it is going to somehow reduce the user experience. So that's why, I mean, again, so it doesn't mean that you do not need to involve user. You have to involve user, but again, what that threshold should be, how much we need to involve, yeah, so you have to look at. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it's related to that. It's not a clear question, but whenever a research happens, they involve users in a blindfolded experience, such that they don't actually know what's the objective of the experiment. So, in this way, wouldn't we get the correct statistics that are needed?
Yeah, so that's why I said you need to involve user, but yeah, so that shouldn't be, I mean, as I said, I mean, that depends on user experience, right? If you consider probably other metric, in that case, I mean, involving user may help you. So it also basically depends on what metric do you plan to define for the success of your system, right? So yeah, so definitely, I mean, we need to involve user, and uh, we cannot basically blindfoldly basically build something which we feel the user is going to be satisfied.
So can you give some examples of where involving the user too much would harm the product, like examples of products?
Mhm.
Can you give
So
some
one
examples?
thing you can think of, for example, smartphone, right? Even when basically, for example, there is not much technical advancement is there to basically come up with a smartphone which is, say, very light, right, and you can say very clean, and so on, and also the cheaper, right? So users, as I said, I mean, if you're going to involve user in different stage, I mean, one of the user expectation would be, I need for free, right, or not free, at least very low, right? At the same time, user expectation would be, I mean, yeah, so give me all the features that you can think of, even which are some of the features may not be technically feasible. So for example, suppose when you are building a when you are building a, so say for example, uh, information retrieval system. If you have a information retrieval system, it's more like, for example, Alexa. Suppose you are using Alexa, right? If you ask anything to Alexa, and Alexa basically have to process your query, and from the database of information it need to match the what question that you are asking, and accordingly reply, right? User expectation is that, okay, so even before I finish my query, right, I mean, or about to finish, you should process it, or you need to understand it, and immediately once I finish my question, I need the answer. But is it technically feasible? That you also need to think of. I mean, from user point of view, that is the best, right? I mean, you just finish the question, you can immediately got the answer, but it may not be feasible, right? And similarly, I mean, you want to deploy the system to, say, rural areas. For example, if you have to deploy Alexa in rural areas, end of the day, everything is based on the internet, right? If you have the low internet bandwidth, or probably you do not have enough internet bandwidth to support the whole processing, because Alexa, what it does, it don't process whatever the data it is, simply send it to server or cloud, basically process all those and get back the information, and Alexa just simply give it back to you. So it means if you're going to involve user in too much, their expectation would be too much high, and that may lead to probably a very high expectation from your product, and when you deliver the product it may not meet the expectation. That's how somehow it reduce the user experience, because the user experience is not only about the feature. User experience can come from anything, so that include how you use the system, how ownership you have with the system, how not only with the you can see the product, but also with the company and everything. So that involves a lot of things, right? So did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, if not, then let's go to the double diamond design. Let's reiterate. So yeah, so the first part is discover. So you need to have the insight into the problem. It's more about defining the problem space. Then once you define the problem space, you can choose some problem that you can solve. So it's more about the area to focus upon. So it means a defined problem. So once you define the problem, you need to develop it. So again, so several ways you can develop it. One of the potential solution is the prototype, but again, so prototype is not something always the best solution, and also because building a prototype takes time. So in that case, another solution could be, how about coming with the drawings, coming with the sketches, coming with a, you can say, kind of pseudo algorithm where you can write the different steps and so on. So in this way you can also produce some develop some solution. And again, so there could be more than one solutions, and similarly you need to do the evaluation. You need to basically, based on the evaluation, so based on the given number of alternatives, you can choose the one, and based on that you can finally deliver the product to the user for the system. And probably if you see, this is not uh, it is not a kind of one way thing, right? It's not like once you finish these two phases the product is over. So what additional thing we have to do? So for example, you done something here, then do this here, develop it, deliver. So do you think, I mean, is it the end of the phase, or do you need to do something else? Anyone?
We need to keep updating it as per the.
How you will update it? How you will update it? On what
So
basis?
we need to take feedback from the user.
You need to take the feedback from the user. That's very nice, Shavon. So with this note, let me go to the feedback. So for example, I don't know, probably you may have seen this. So for example, this is the product, right? And the product is
yes sir, we have seen it.
You have seen it, right? So
Yes,
it's
sir.
kind of original holy cow dung for Havan, puja, religious purpose, and so on, right? And if you're going to take the feedback, so for example, this person has given a feedback. It tasted very bad when I ate it. It was grass-like and muddy in taste. I got loose motion after that. Please be a little more hygienic while manufacturing. So also pay attention to the taste and crunchiness of this product. So I don't know what to do with this. But again, so yeah, feedback is important, but you also have to basically look at, so what is feasible and so on, right? So just on lighter note, I mean, this is one kind of very good example, right? So many times the feedbacks are very useful. So for example, have you provided any feedback to any, say for Microsoft? How many of you use Microsoft, or how many of you use, say, Linux, Ubuntu or something? Anybody use Ubuntu here?
Yes,
Sir, I use.
Yes.
Linux
Have
actually,
you
not
provided
Ubuntu.
any feedback? Have you provided any feedback to the Ubuntu?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Like how?
Like how the UI could be better, or how the package managers could be better in handling
Okay.
exceptions and all.
So it's more like driven by you. But have you seen any system where you provide the feedback somehow kind of prompted by the system? For example, many
Yes,
of you
sir.
use Microsoft Word, right? Have you seen, like, while using the Microsoft Word, somehow it crashed, right? And in fact, it could be any system or any software, right? When you're using any app or something, if you're using any software or something, you often probably encounter, like, there is a kind of crash or some issue, and there is some kind of window pop-up, right? And window pop-up says, would you like to send this error to the company? Have you seen something like that?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
In various mobile apps, this same
Exactly.
things happen.
So it's more about the different basically it's kind of log of what happened, because and basically yeah, so basically how this whole system works. So there is something called concept called logging. Logging is something whatever the activities and whatever the things are happening with your system, everything is getting recorded, right? Recorded in form of say some notes, right? So first, for example, uh, how the how the basically user started using system, from which activity to which other activity the person. So for example, if the person using Facebook, right? In case of Facebook, the person opened the app. After open the app, when people go to the post, when he is going to post, he started in, you can say uploading image. While uploading image, the system, your app crashed. So it means you have a kind of sequence of activities, what happened and what lead to the you can say the crash, right? So this basically help designers and the developer to fix this. And how it will fix, how basically it will help designer, or you can say the developer. If we have the log and finally you send okay, so send this to the company. So once the developer or designer have this log, how this is going to help them to fix it? Anybody want to comment?
So now they will know that where do they have to work upon, like which area do they have to focus on designing better or like improving better.
Right. So it's basically when you look at the log, so log basically help you to figure out at what is basically the causing issue. So for example, let me give an example. We have given the example of Facebook. The person has started using it, while uploading it given the issue, right? And so basically what happens, the designer will do, designer will try to reproduce this. When I say the reproduce, because often any kind of issues may come for several reasons, right? It may be due to the environment, it may be due to the, you can say the uh, type of system that you're using. So for example, suppose I'm using, there are two user, the developer and the designer basically have tested and developed the Facebook app on say Android, not Android, even say, yeah, for example Android, right? So it's a kind of Android app, but the person who have raised this issue, probably he was the iOS user, right? It means probably, and when you send the log, so what the basically developer firstly do, they try to reproduce the whole situation scenario, so that they can verify so what exactly happened. And this log basically help them to follow exactly what happened, and so that they can reproduce the issue. And if it is reproducible, then it is easy to fix. And you will be surprised to know, I mean, there are many issues which are not reproducible. The reason being because sometimes it is not possible for you to keep log of everything. Again, so in case of real time scenario, even this could be something like temperature, this could be something like the environment, or probably the light, and so on. It could be many things. So there are two types of issues when you deal with the system. So one is the reproducible, one is non-reproducible. Reproducible issues are very easy to fix because you know what has caused, and you can basically apply some jugaad or probably something to fix this. But if it is not reproducible, I mean, it's very difficult for you. So you need to try a lot of things to try to find in which cases it happens, and so on. So many of you, when you go to the software company to work on, in that case, I mean, you will realize this more and probably experience by yourself, right? So probably it is a bit high level details at the moment, but just think it in that way. In a way, every user basically provide the feedback. Some user provide the feedback like cow dung, but some people probably can provide the actual feedback like, okay, so yeah, so my system crashed when I use this system, this functionality, and so on, right? Any comment, any questions here before we proceed?
Sir, when a system crashes and stuff like that, sir, it also depends on what kind of extensions and stuff has been placed in by the user.
Exactly.
So that also plays a role because not everybody installs the same set of packages in their
Yeah,
systems,
yeah.
and that may lead to crashing. Like
Yeah.
I installed the x86 version of Amazon Music on my system, and immediately the whole system shut down because the command lines were not compatible with the ARM processor. So that kind of things are not done by everybody, so not everybody are able to report that kind of things. So the uniqueness of the problems that the user face can also lead to great improvements in the system, because not everybody will try different things, and even the smallest of the input that the community can get can lead to a better improvement in the software.
Very nice. So very nice, very nicely mentioned by you, Bakis. The thing is, you can also think in that way. So whenever any company design or build any product, so do you know? I mean, when you build something, that's it, right? So after building, you simply give it to user. What do you think? What is the life cycle of any product? Suppose you build the thing. So let's go to here. Let's go to here. So here basically you discover, define, develop, and after deliver, you just give it to deliver it to the user, or do something else here.
Sir, you can
So
release in beta form to some amount of users.
No, even before the beta form, do you need to do anything before the beta form?
So testing
so
it out for the
Testing it,
functionality.
right? Testing it. So again, so testing need to be done. Testing need to be done uh, in very thoroughly basis, in thorough basis, right? Again, when you are going to test any system, right? I mean, probably designer may not know all possibility under which you need to test it, right? So for one example I've given, so so for example, when you use the smartphone, right? So it could be probably different type of smartphones, it could be different iOS on the smartphone, or even it could be the way you use the smartphone. For example, many people use you can say the some game in portrait mode, or probably some people use the different app in the landscape mode. So even this may cause the issue, if probably because later on when you go for mobile development or probably the software engineering courses, then you will get to know. I mean, before once you develop the system, you need to write different test cases. When I say the test cases, so these test cases will correspond to the different requirement that you have. So whether all the requirement which I had is meeting or not, if they are meeting and what condition they are meeting. So you need to check all the conditions. So for example, Bhagesh has mentioned about command line thing, right? So often as a developer, as the testers, we may not think of all possibility of using a system, right? So these testing basically help you, and especially the user, when they test it, they often basically come up with out of the box thinking of using the system. And basically, yeah, so in this way the system crash and something unexpected happens, and in this way yeah, so user tester basically, user provide the different other test cases to the system, and such issues are uh, delegated to the tester and developer, and they fix it and give it the system to you again. So one very important thing you should consider and you should keep in mind as we do the discovering, defining, development, and delivery. And again, so next part we have discussed about say feedback. So for example, by taking the feedback of this, so probably the next time we can probably add some perfume, or probably just to make it more fragrant, probably add some chocolate to make it more tasty, and so on, right? So in this way, I mean, it means when basically, so for example, in order to meet this particular user's feedback, you added chocolate, probably you added something else, or probably in order to make crunchiness, probably you add, I don't know what need to be added. And once you come up with the system, right? I mean, once you come up with the product, so do you need to do only this particular testing, or do you need to test all the tests that you had before?
All the tests.
Right, yeah. Because when you
Yes, sir,
come up
all the
with,
test.
yeah, because when you come up with some solution, when you say the solution or kind of fixing some issues or the something that you got from the user, of course you can fix it, but this fix may lead to probably uh, disturbing other solutions or other components, right? So for example, I have given example, you can add a chocolate here, but after adding chocolate, will it be religious now? I don't know. Similarly, will it burn very well? I'm not sure, right? So it means you need to test everything again. So that is the key. So when you are taking the feedback, it's more kind of iterative thing. So every time you need to basically pass all the test cases that you have done. So it's not like you only have to test the new system, and again you have to test everything again from the. So that is the and what is the easiest way to do so? because every time if you have to pass this, so people basically do, they write kind of script or something, or they do kind of automate the thing. So for example, if you're building a robot, right? So if your robot has to pass, say, 100 test cases, or you can often 100, maybe less, it might be many others, right? Because if you are going to use robot, because that may lead you to some loss in the business. So for example, you have to give this cow dung, but by mistake you just pass the golden dung, right? So in that case, basically, I mean, you lose whole business, right? So it means every time you need some kind of automated way of, because if you have to do the testing, everything again after all the iteration, manually doing may lead you to probably not possible. In that case, the people write automated scripts, and in order to basically, at least wherever it is possible, automated script to basically pass on all the testing. And in that case, once it is passed all the issues, then you can release it to the user. And that's how basically when alpha beta testing basically gets start, and after that, once it passed to that phase, it's given to the user as a product. Yeah, so I see some of the chats. Any questions here? Let me see. Okay. सर रुक जाओ, बहुत गंदे विजुअल्स आ रहे हैं. What do you mean? Okay, what is that? Okay. So anyone has any questions? So I don't know what does this mean. Anyone? Okay. Okay, so this is something with the product we have. And any question that you have? Any questions?
Sir, we don't always are able to give good feedback. Like, just on Thursday, in EC, we are supposed to make our lab with Tinkercad, and Tinkercad wasn't working. That's why they had had to repair it the next day on Friday. And then we told the same thing to TAs that our old projects weren't open. But then they didn't do much, and they reduced the marks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like always the feedbacks always we get a good
Exactly. So it means there should be some way to filtering out the feedback, right? So there should be some ways to kind of filtering whether some feedback should be given consideration, or some feedback you just need to ignore. And there might be some feedback which are very, very useful and critical that you need to immediately address, right? So yeah, so again, that is part of the whole iterative process, right? So when you are getting the different feedback, or so basically you need to rank them. You need to rank them in a kind of priority, and because there you might also get some feedback which is not relevant to you, right? So in that case, you need to simply discard it. You can mention, oh yeah, so not in, or some feedback which may not be possible. For example, getting the moon from the space, I mean, this is something at least not possible, right? So you can say it's not possible. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, so I hope everything is clear. So yeah, so before I go next, let me show one of the thing. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, in the last 2 days, I have sent a number of posts. I don't know, have you looked at this or not? Right. So let me just reiterate it for your reference. I shared a Google form through which, if you have any question, because sometimes it is not possible to answer all the questions that you have due to due to time constraint and many other stuff, right? So in that case, what we have done, so I'm very thankful to the all TAs who are working very hard. So using this form, you can basically ask any questions that you have, right? Let me see if someone has asked any question or not. It seems no one has asked any questions. So is it like you don't have any questions? Is everything basically already clear to you? Do anyone have any questions after the class, or probably the questions from the previous classes?
Yes, sir. I have some questions.
Sure.
I will post
So please, yeah. So thanks. So I mean, I request everyone again. I mean, we do not supposed to do so, but we are extending our, we are basically stretching ourselves to help you in all possible ways. So we have started this thing. So if you have any questions, so please feel free to ask. So please feel free to ask. Uh, so here basically simply need to mention which group you belong to, so that at least whoever is going to take your TA shape, I mean the tutorial same thing, and so they will try to answer questions and so on. So in this way, if you have any question, feel free to ask. We'll try our best to answer them. As I have also mentioned, so there is a kind of a document. I hope you can also access it. So here basically we will also try to write down all the questions that you have, right? So some questions may be which you have in mind may be already answered here. So again, since we have just started, we don't have much questions and response here, but over the time we plan to extend it and keep adding the question that you will be asking. Okay. So before asking question, it would be great, because we don't want to answer the same question which has been already answered, right? So simply look at the answer that we provide, and if it is still not clear, then you are feel free to ask questions again. So do you think it is something will be useful to you, or should we stop doing this?
It's good, sir.
Yes, it's literally
Yes,
useful.
yes, sir, it's too good.
Okay, very nice. So in that, if it
Good
is
design, sir.
so if you yeah, so thanks. So if you feel it is good, then
Sir, it
please
is
use it.
helpful.
Yeah, so if you so use it and get benefited from this. Okay, so that is about this post. And yeah, so this is about for the student, I guess, who have already done the presentation. I request them to upload their presentation. So let me see how many people have uploaded. So I believe we have finished 9, right? So but only 5 groups has uploaded. So I request everyone, after your presentation, please upload your slides here, and we will make this folder kind of accessible to all the students in case you want to look at them. It will be basically available to you. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next. So now let me go into more details, the different aspect that we have studied in this chapter, right? So if you recall, I mean, there are discover, define, design, and deliver. So the first part is about the understanding the problem space, right? So for understanding the problem space, what you have to do, you need to discover it here, what the problem is, what are the issues is. So it means you need to explore what is the current user experience, what is a change needed, how will this change improve the situation. So do you understand what I mean to say here? So understanding the problem space. So for example, so right now you have a driver, right? I mean, probably if you are driving a car, so how the current driving system work, right? How the current driving system work. So if you recall, in early days only you have a car, right? If you have a car and if you are driving it, so if you need to change the gears, right? I mean, there is no, I mean, you need to change the gear manually, right? Or probably you need to change the gear by taking your call. So if say the driving car speed is say up to 20 kilometers, so probably you need to use second gears. If it is above 20 and probably less than 30 or 40, so it should be third gear. So you need to manually take the call and so on, right? So what if and do you think it's a good? Because probably often every time you have to look at the speed limit, or you can say the your head, and in this way basically you distract from the driving, right? So and if you convince now, so it means there is some changes needed. So right, every time you don't want to look at the speed every time, probably if you have to change the gear. So what is the solution to this? Anyone?
So the
Sir,
vehicles nowadays have
Automatic
automation.
gear
Automatic
or
gear,
Right.
automatic gear.
So
driver.
the solution, one obvious solution could be automatic gear. And how will this change the improve the situation? So can you answer all 3 questions now? So what is the current user experience? Why it is change needed? I hope you convinced now why the change is needed. And how will this change the improve the situation? So if you come up with the automatic gear, so do you think it will solve this situation?
No, sir.
Why?
Sir, because in automatic gear we cannot keep the RPM at our own preference. In manual, we can.
But
If
there are
someone
many
needs more
options.
power at first gear, so it is only for manual, not for automatic.
But
Yes,
But
sir.
in
there are
automatic
many
For
there is,
options
instance,
yeah,
available, like
manual
sports
option in
mode, mud
automatic
modes.
also.
No, no,
yes, sir.
there
So
are very
please,
less.
please raise your hand. Go one by one. Yeah. So who want to raise? Yeah. So Pallav, please go ahead.
Sir, but in automatic cars, there are option for sports mode and all. In sports mode, the RPM always remains high
Right.
to get
Right.
that feel of sports.
Very nice. Jatin.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, like in automatic mode, many vehicles, if they stuck in somewhere, then the power they needed actually is high. Like Delhi DTC buses have automatic mode, and sometimes when the load is high, Delhi have too much rush. So when the sometime load is high, the engine fails actually after heating up. On that
Yes,
time,
sir.
if they have actually like orange buses have actually uh, manual mode, and on they actually deliver more power for the same kind of thing, and they didn't face more issues for the same conditions.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it might for some cases that they solve actually problem, but not
Right.
for the all cases.
Right. Rohit.
Yes, sir. I wanted to add that in most of the cars nowadays, there's an option for manual in automatic also where the upshift is user defined, but car downshifts on its own.
Okay. Any female driver want to add anything? Okay. So yeah, so I mean that's very valid points actually. That is the reason, I mean, not manual gears are fully replaced. That's why the companies are coming with automatic gear as well as you can see the manual gear, because there are situations where, I mean, the people prefer manual gears. There are situations where people uh, preferring automatic gears, right? So it depends on the use requirement, preferences, and many other stuff, right? So but there is a need, right? If the people are many people are coming, you can say going towards the automatic gear, it means there is a need, I mean, and that's why it is somehow solving the situation for some people at least. Yeah. Okay. So articulating the problem space. So it means, I hope it is clear, it's kind of team effort. You need to involve so many people, right? So it could be user, it could be designer, it could be expert, it could be probably the other target users, right? So, and you need to explore different perspectives. You need to explore different perspectives. So what are the different perspective could be? And similarly, you need to avoid incorrect assumption and unsupported claims, right? So for example, if someone building a system and say, I mean, if you drive say uh, more than with the speed of 300 kilometers, you may get a kind of salvation, right? Of course you will get a salvation after dying, right? So it's, but there is no unsupported claim for that. So it means, I mean, you need to consider everything. I mean, probably you will not, so for example, if you are building a not a sports car, definitely the speed limit will be much less as compared to the I mean, much more will be as compared to the normal car, right? And there could be many other things. Similarly, unsupported, there could be incorrect assumptions. So you
Sir,
need to resolve all those by involving the target users. You need to address kind of, you need to get rid of unsupported claims by contacting, say, scientists if required, the expert engineers, researchers, and so on. Yeah.
sir, in the sports mode, as Pallav said, sir, the power is high, although, but sir, still the average the car gives is very low. So that's why it's not that much preferable.
Right.
That's why
So
it's
again,
a
I mean,
sports mode.
yeah. So again, so the expert can comment on that. So honestly, I have recently started driving, so not more than 1 month experience I have, so I cannot comment much on that. But yeah, so this is something, that's why you need kind of expert in that, right? So yeah. So but I hope overall idea, overall basically the issues is clear to you, right? So you need to understand the problem space, and you need to, and in that case because if you're coming with a new feature, if you're coming with a new solution, right, so you need to basically you need to have some good reasons to do that. Otherwise, what is the point of coming with that, right? So you need to understand the problem space. Similarly, the importance of involving user, we have already discussed in great details in the previous slides, I mean the previous lectures. So there is always two things. So one is the expectation management, one is the ownership. So expectation involving users basically also give you all the realistic expectation that people have. So if you probably feel that some of the expectation from the users and the users mm, or something which is not possible, you can basically mention in the limitation, or probably you can inform user uh, in the beginning itself. So I understand, I mean your expectation is there, but this is something which is not possible, so that you can do some kind of expectation management. And that's why in the company, I mean there are people, there are role for ownership, there are role for expectation management, where basically the people work with the real users. They involve them for the full time, they involve them for the part time. Akshat, you have any questions? Akshat, would you want
No,
to?
sir, that was by mistake.
Okay, no issue. Yeah, so expectation management, I hope you understand. So it's more involving user in the beginning. You can understand what their expectation is, and basically you can convey them in the on a right time itself, like this is something which is realistic, this is something which is not realistic. And if you involve user, then also users will be much aware of what they are going to have, or it's more about, we can say, what they have seen, and they are very eager to have it, right? So it's also there is, because there are cases where surprise is good, right? Suppose if you're watching a movie, right, if you're watching a movie, and in that case it's good to have surprise. But if you are using a system, so for example, if you're using a system Alexa, always you get surprised. I mean sometimes it expect say Alexa please play this song, but next time if you have to play song, surprisingly it say no, I have changed my name Alexa to say sweetie, or probably something else, right? So you don't want to have such surprises in the system, that should be fixed. So that's why you need to involve user in the beginning. And one of the, you can say for example, the expectation would be, so yeah, so it should be easy to use, it should be learnable. I mean all the design concept that we have discussed earlier, it should be followed. And if you follow all these, so there will be not surprise, no, and if there is no surprise, it often lead to no disappointment. Timely training, so it means if the user is involved in the early stages, you can train them well. Communication but not hype, so in that case one hype could be, I mean, okay, so if after using this system you can go anywhere in a fraction of a second, you will be teleported, I mean you make such hype, right, but which is not possible. So in that case, I mean you need involving user, I mean you can communicate them, okay, so this is something which is possible, this is something probably we can help you in communicate by video calls rather than teleporting you. At least they know what to do. And one of the most important thing is the ownership, because if you involve user in building something, the people take pride in that. People say, okay, so I'm the one who are the first among the people who are using it. So it's basically more about make the user active stakeholders. So if you involve user in active stakeholder, probably they may probably spread the word, they may basically advertise the even the product itself and so on. So if you recall the video we have shown about the iPhone and the probably Android user, right? So I mean again, so there is no comment which one is good or better, but probably iPhone users say, okay, so look, I mean I have iPhone. Probably the Android users say, okay, look, I have the Android phone. And they can argue which one is best and not, but at least they feel the ownership in that. Similarly, more likely to forgive or accept problem, because if you are involved in the development, so at least you may feel that, okay, so it's fine, I mean I'm involved and I understand that what my expectation was earlier, it is not something possible, right? In that case, the being ownership of the thing, product that we are going to build, they can understand the situation, because they understand, okay, so something which was not realistic, and they more likely to forgive and accept the problem, because they feel which is very difficult to solve at the moment and can be solved in the later stages. similarly can make a big difference in acceptance and success of the product. So in this way, involving user basically very important, and that basically help you in doing expectation management and ownership. Any questions here?
So does
Sir,
the timely training involve to the YouTube have ML feature which actually learn the requirement that user want? So
Yeah, I
does
mean
it involve?
that you can perform. I mean, again, so you can do in several ways, right? So the one you're saying is could be one way. So you can think of probably is training, probably before that you can do survey and other stuff in order to understand what they want, and accordingly you can provide the training. Okay.
hello,
Okay.
sir.
So with this, yeah, yes, go ahead.
Sir, please can you tell again ownership, because there is an internet problem. Can you brief
Sure.
some ownership?
So ownership is more about you involve the user as a stakeholder, in a way. I mean, it is your product, right? It is something you are building. So for example, there are several collaborative design. There's something called collaborative design. So it means you are involving user in many part of it, right? So it's basically user will feel, okay, this is something they have designed. This is something they have produced. So it's more like your thing. I mean, you'll feel part of the system. You feel part of the product. So be it like development, or that's why I'm saying it's make the active user stakeholder, right? So for example, if you want to probably come up with some interactive product, so it could be so for example, say Arogya Setu or something, right? If in Arogya Setu, I mean, you feel proud, okay, so earlier it has this issue and you have read this PR and probably send it to the development team and they fix it, and you'll feel proud, okay, yeah, so look, Arogya Setu, I use it, and this particular issue was there earlier and this has been resolved based on my feedback. And this is something which is there. Even there are cases earlier. What happens, I mean, there are people who are probably studying in not very popular colleges where the no companies are coming, they're not able to get good placement. And so what there was some time, so there was a trend. I mean, these people, since they do not have enough opportunity, what they do, they take the product of top companies, say Microsoft or probably Google and so on, they try to break it. Okay, so this system has this issue, this system has that issue, and so on. So in that case, I mean, the companies take these feedback very in positive mode. Okay, so this person basically were able to break my system, this person is basically the person able to provide me very good feedback which my development and testing team has somehow missed it. It means probably this person can add value to my company, and they basically they often invite these people to join the company. And in this way, I mean, you can do a number of things. So it's kind of involving owner, making the owner user the owner of the product, not owner in a sense 100% owner. It's more like giving the at least feeling of ownership. Okay, did I every,
That
at least
was
we are because not every testing, right? I mean, at least when we are building the prototype, at least the whatever the, because again you can involve user in number of ways, right? So you do not need to ask him to test every device. Probably you need to ask him to the build test the prototype. Okay.
yeah, sir.
Okay, good. So since we have 3 presentation to go, so who is the first group? Whom should I make co-host?
So 110.
Harsh
So,
Bhard-
so 110.
6-2.
Sir, Sarthak.
110
Sarthak Mani.
Wait. Harsh?
Bhardwaj.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Harsh Bharadwaj, please share your screen
Yep,
and start the presentation. Others, meanwhile, please comment whom I need to make co-host. Please tell the name.
Aditya Nangia.
Aditya.
Sarthak Mani.
Okay, so please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just a second.
Yeah, so please don't take more than 10 minutes, otherwise I will have to hard stop you.
All right.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harsh Bhardwaj, and we'll be presenting HV Tracker.
Can you be please bit loud? I cannot hear you.
Okay. Is this better, sir?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harsh Bhardwaj, and we'll be presenting HV Tracker. My team members are Harshit Goyal, Kanishk Jalutaria, Madhav Krishna, and Pallav Singla. So before we get into our app, I just want you to take into consideration this stat that's on the screen right now. It says that research shows that the mortality risk for patients with ambulance response times greater than 5 minutes is 3 times higher. Now, this should have a significant impact on the person that's reading this. Which it essentially says is that if, God not, any of us were in some emergency and the ambulance responder or the operator at the scene was delayed for whatever the reason was, the chances of us getting out of that hospital alive are literally cut to 1/3. The source of the information is researchgate.net, and the link is also provided in the PowerPoint. Now, you can also look at this graph here. As you can see, the ambulance response time as a function of time, if you were looking at the prognosis being worsened or improved, as the time period increases, your overall prognosis being worsened has a very higher significant chance. So again, this just goes to show you that having an ambulance on time at the scene of the crime is really required. Here are just a few of the newspaper cuttings that we could find. Because of the COVID pandemic, there have been a lot of cases where ambulances haven't been able to be there on time or haven't been able to find the patient on time, and that's led to many deaths and many prognosis worsened for people. So that's why we've presented the solution of the HP Tracker app to further inform you about the UI and the UX and essentially the workings of the app. I have Harshit Goyal who's going to present onwards.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, so the basic idea about the UI is based on social networking apps based UI, which will provide more convenient and more interactive way for the users, which we think is most important between a patient and medical services. So starting from the first three basic widgets, we have hospital tracker, which tracks all hospitals and clinics on basis of distance, availability of beds, rating, fees, etc. Then we have pathology lab tracker. Most of the people have issues about from which pathology lab we will get accurate reports in lesser time, lesser money, etc. Then we have emergency help tracker. This this features main goal of our app, which will help user to get medical services and help in emergency on basis of less questions to be answered. More details on this will be provided in later slides. Then coming on the search bar, it will help you to search about doctors, hospitals, medicines, health news, and data and more. Then in the feed tab, user could see health related news and information, which is mostly on the interest of user. App could decide that by collecting the data about on which news user click the most. Then we have settings widget, where users can manage health related personal info and read some frequently asked questions and give some feedback about our app. Then we have chat widget, which will open the chat window to chat with doctors, lab technicians, ambulance. There's also video chat available in this widget, which is end-to-end encrypted. Then we have inbox widget, where users will receive reports, doctor fees, hospital bill statement, etc. At last, we have home widget to get you back to home window from any other widgets window. Now in the next slide, Harsh will speak about goals of our app.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea of what the app actually does, the main goals of the app are to make hospitals and ambulances more accessible and to estimate the affected organ or the illness and provide a short diagnostic of what is actually wrong with the patient. It also helps to implement an emergency system that can alert the hospital, the family members, and close friends of the patient that is being affected. Now, the efficiency of this app, which is one of the main focuses of our development, is based on an acronym, the LIFE acronym. Now, L in LIFE stands for lateral operation. What this means is, as soon as you press on this emergency help tracker, right? as soon as you allow your phone to go into emergency mode, it'll immediately send a message to the ambulance corresponder, the hospital, and to all your close relatives and all the people that you know, and it will tell them about what your condition is and your estimated arrival time at the hospital. Now, how do we do that? We have an I, which stands for inbuilt GPS location. So as soon as we go into that mode, there is a live location that's being sent to the ambulance responder at the scene so that he can easily and efficiently locate you. Now, it also sends the patient's location to the hospital so that they can figure out which hospital will be the closest and where the beds are available. It also provides F, which is first aid tips and procedures for any bystanders that are available at the scene to provide some extra first aid to help the prognosis of the patient. Now, if I talk about my own instance, a few years ago, my dad had a vertigo attack. And those few minutes were honestly some of the worst periods that I have ever experienced in my life. And if at that time someone would have been there to tell me that if you can help your dad lay down or if you can help him breathe, that would have made the situation less tension for me, as well as hopefully help my father in that scenario.
So is the abbreviation proposed by you, or is it?
Yes, sir. It's proposed by us.
Wonderful.
Yeah. If E is for efficient use of every second, because in these situations, every second matters, right? In an emergency, there have been multiple instances where being delayed by even 1 or 2 minutes has had dramatic changes. So to keep our discussion on further, we talk about the effectiveness. I'll hand it over
Yeah.
to
Effect. Yeah, our app is very effective, as our app can detect the vacant hospitals or vacant beds in emergency, which is told by the Harsh, as he also faced that same problem. There is also an emergency option present in an app which can locate nearby hospitals, which can be a very helpful when there is a worst situation conditions. There is also option to store the health report by the user, so that when there is a health problem related, the doctor need not to check every report, which cause lots of waste of time. So the doctor can directly access from there only. The app also has an SOS system, which can be accessible from the home screen of the device and can be used to alert family and close member in case of emergency. If it is basically used when the emergency happen on roadside, then the person or every person has his phone, so it can directly contact to the family member or the emergency contact that is filled by the user in our app. So at last, user can also fill the feedback form about the experience about the experience about the hospitals, about the working conditions there, and there is if they faced any problem or not, that will directly go to government, as government plays a good role in this in our app. So government can take care of health facilities and furthermore. Now I will like Madhav to carry out with utility.
The app would allow users to book appointments and so that they do not have to spend much time filtering out results. The taps or clicks would be reduced in case of emergency mode, so that not much time is wasted to scan hospitals. The appointment calendar would be essential for patients to manage their appointments so that they do not miss them in case they forget it. Reports of medical examinations and tests would be available for uh, ease of operation and
So
for
please wrap up in 1 or 2 minutes.
yes.
Hello everyone. So talking about security of this app, the user registered through an official ID card approved by the government authorities. As this app is officially affiliated with the government, so there would be no privacy breach of one's privacy. And other different facilities like calling an ambulance, this app will access the location of the user, and this app will only use the location of the user only when it is working on his phone. It will not track the phone one's location every time. It will only use when the app is working in his phone. And also there would be a double check of every action you will have on this app. Because if there is any misleading or mishap or any accidental touch, there would be a warning message which would be displaying on this app where would their action will lead to them.
Yeah, so very nice. So I would like to have probably one questions because very nice feature and so. So did you find any existing system similar to this?
Sir, yeah, sure. Hello. Go ahead.
The Delhi government has started this, vacancy of beds in their hospital only, but there is no feature on the app. So we just
We found
took that idea.
So
multiple
I hope,
apps.
yeah, so I hope this is very interesting and very, very useful system could be for people. So yeah, so I strongly encourage you to take it further and yeah, give it to people.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Thank you.
So with the
Thank you,
next
sir.
group, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So is my screen visible?
Yes, please go ahead. So please don't
And
take
am
more
I?
than 10 minutes. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Today we, the members of Group 110, are going to show our presentation for IHCI. Our group members are Sia, Harjeet, Rishabh, and I am Sarthak. So let us begin. Looking at the slide, can you guess what is the topic for today? You can give your guess in the chat.
Is it smart city or something?
You all should write in the chat so that everyone has an equal chance.
Time management.
Yeah, as many of you has correctly guessed, the topic is time management, and we have proposed an app based on the same. And the name of the app is Samay Shakti. But why do you think that we chose this topic in the first place when there were thousands of more exciting options available? You will get an answer to that in the upcoming slide. Let's now see a short video explaining the paramount importance of time in our lives and the need for time management.
Every morning, it credits you with 86,400 seconds. Every night, it writes off as lost whatever time you have failed to use wisely. It carries over no balance from day to day. It allows no overdraft, so you can't borrow against yourself or use more time than you have. Each day, the account starts fresh. Each night, it destroys any unused time. If you fail to use the day's deposits, it's your loss, and you can't appeal to get it back. There's never any borrowing time. You can't take a loan out on your time or against someone else's. The time that you have is the time that you have, and that's it.
As you saw in the video, that time management is to prioritize things. It is not about doing the less important things quicker, but is about planning the essential tasks in the right way. In the subsequent slides, we will come to know how our app helps managing time well and how it is different from than the already existing apps of the same nature. Over to Sia now.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
This app will have an amazing interface, which will be one of the best apps working on the background of time management. Let's know more about it. We all have a series of tasks lined up for us. So when we will open this app, it will ask us to fill in all the tasks and deadlines according to the priorities, which will be color coded for better visibility. It will already have different sections allotted like study time, relax, and all. So here is an example to show how it will look when we would have filled everything. Now you all will be wondering what is new in this app. All this is so common and can be found in the existing apps. So this app will have an AI interface which will present in front of us a well-managed timetable in accordance with the data filled by us. It breaks up individual tasks into intervals separated by brief breaks. This timetable will help in cutting down wasted time and complete our tasks. The AI interface will also help in tracking and recording your work. For example, you have opened your Google Classroom and you are studying. It will auto recognize and record your study time. Then it will analyze and show how we used our time for different activities during the day. Please don't think about security right now, we will talk about it. So here's an example showing the same. After that, it will give us recommendations based on our behavior. It will also give us a positive quote at the end of the day, and knowing you are on top of everything will help you feel calm and collected. It also frees up more mental space for thinking about things that genuinely matter. User experience is a very important factor in making of an app. Every user and approach is different. The app, with the help of AI, will track our progress and get to know more about us, and then it will present a more personalized timetable. This app will also have an inbuilt calendar where we can have a look at all the deadlines for the week in a managed way. This app will also give us reminders of the upcoming tasks. So focus is the secret to making go time further. This app will block all the distracting apps, and it will also auto analyze when we are being too distracted. Now over to Harjeet.
We also have added an additional feature to this app, which will protect our eyes. Sometimes while attending an online meeting or online classes, we without realizing bring our face closer to the phone screen to concentrate. This puts a lot of strain on our eyes and decreases the blinking rate of eyes and can cause dryness. So how is this app is going to help? Nowadays, smartphone camera have laser technology in them. They use this technology to adjust the lenses. This app will open their front camera in the background and use this technology to calculate the distance between the phone screen and the user face. And if that distance is less than 25 centimeter, it will give a notification or warning to the user. Getting this warning, user will hold his phone at an appropriate distance. There is also an option of blue light filter. Using this, you can cut down the harmful blue light from the phone screen. So that's how it's going to contribute to our health also. Over to Sarthak.
The app not only helps in managing our time well and takes care of our eyes while using the app, but in addition to that, it also helps us in improving our character and assists us to become a better version of ourselves. The app has a hardware component integrated with it. It is a glove which tells the app about the traits of person by looking at the handwriting. The app then gives us recommendation on what all things should we do to improve upon that. This hardware is not at all compulsory. It's upon the user whether he wants to buy it or not.
So, a good design can make a company, but a bad design can destroy a company. So let's look at some of the designing principles that make our app a good design product. Let's
So
look at
please
the
wrap up
access.
in not more than 2 minutes.
Okay, so these apps come with different languages to include people from the different country. There's also an option of color space correction for colorblind people, and this app is also available on different platforms. This app will track the behavior of user in all the fields that we have presented and automatically customize to give a user personalized experience. So everyone struggles with time management regardless of occupation, culture, post, and age. So everyone wants to manage their time well. So the target audience of this app is very vast. Over to Rishabh. So we will conduct survey and involve users from the different fields and culture and different stages of designing process. Next slide. So let's talk about the user experience. So app interface is very simple and intuitive. It is very easy to navigate and easy to learn. big size icons of different colors are provided with different various cartoons on them, so it's very easy to use and very easy to remember. So you must be thinking about the privacy of this app. So I would say do not worry. It is end-to-end encrypted, and that all the data that you enter in this app will remain in the local system. So we have taken the utmost care of your security and privacy.
Now we come to bibliography. Here are some sites from where we
Thank
took
you so much.
references in making this
Okay,
presentation.
so thank you so much, Rishabh, and
We are
yeah, so
wrapping like
Arjit
it's
and so on.
okay.
So yeah, so probably the last group. Thank you so much. So since we're running out of time,
Actually, there
so
is
please
one thing.
last group go ahead.
Sir, I had a question regarding.
Yeah, so
So
one
this
quick question, please.
I have to tell about the existing app. Can I tell? It will take only 10-15 seconds.
Sir, I had a question.
Yes, yeah, please ask your questions.
Sir, actually, I wanted to ask, like, it was mentioned in the presentation that when we use Google Classroom or other online resources for studying, it will be tracking our working during that time also, and it will account for it in our study hours. But how will it account for the time when I keep the tabs open and the Google Classroom open in my cell phone or the browser? Because usually many people don't choose to close the tabs, right? They keep them open. So will it be accounted for in the study time, and like keeping these tabs open, and the website or the application tracking it will also raise concerns, like it will have access to the full browser content, only then it will be able to track those tabs, right? So like there are multiple privacy concerns also, sir, because
Nature
uh,
of concerned, it will have an end-to-end encryption, and all the things that it will store will be in the local system only. And also for the Google Classroom part that you said, whenever you are not on that site, you are working on the another tab, it won't record that.
Why does a time management app need so much security about privacy and things?
So why not? I mean, but anyways, let's probably take further questions offline. So please, last group go ahead.
Aditya, can you present here?
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yeah, it is.
please go ahead, and
Yeah.
yeah, so please try to wrap up in 10 minutes.
Sure, sir. Yeah, so our project is on what is now called the chair of physics after Stephen Hawking, because it was made for Stephen Hawking. So, introduction. And Stephen Hawking once said that medicine has not been able to cure me, so I rely on technology to help me communicate and live. Now, Speech Plus manufactured Cortex 5010 in 1988 to give Hawking a voice. Over the years, various companies like Intel, SwiftKey, Lenovo, and even Apple have contributed to help Stephen Hawking lead his life. And for more than 21 years, there has been a dedicated team of experts in human-computer interaction from Intel Labs working on making Hawking's life easier. Over to Devendra.
Thank you, Aditya. Good afternoon to all. Basically, ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also called as Lou Gehrig's disease. It is a progressive nervous system disease that affects nervous cells in the brain and spinal cord, causing loss of muscle controls. Next slide, please. The disease is extremely rare in India. Fewer than 100,000 cases in India. One in every 13,700 people have it as compared to other countries. So treatment can help, but as of now, ALS is still remain an incurable disease. It is extremely fatal. The average life expectancy after diagnosis is 2 to 5 years. About 10% can survive for longer than 10 years. For example, Stephen Hawking, who lived for 50 years. It is a hereditary disease with the offspring having a 50% chance of acquiring it. That's all. Thank you. Over to you, Aditya.
So some of the features of the chair of physics are there's an IR sensor and a speed synthesizer, which is the Cortex 5010, a power sources and a peripheral box for various components. There's a universal remote, and in the end, a Lenovo tablet. Now over to Armin.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. So, my name is Armin. I'll be giving a description about each component. So, there's an IR sensor which detects the person's movable cheek muscles so that whenever the cheek muscle rig, it sends a value to the processor, and a speech synthesizer present at the back of its chair and translates written text that is written using the cheek muscle into an electronic voice that is specifically dedicated to the user's frequency. Power sets are also there, which contains a set of batteries that powers an entire chair. It has its own battery backup also in case of any emergency. Next slide, please. It also contains a peripheral box which contains many inputs such as a USB hub, audio amplifier, voltage regulator, and for many different features regarding the chip. There's also an universal remote. This can operate TV, music, lights, and even the doors. Few more features include tablet PC, a Lenovo ThinkPad X2233T with Core i7 processor controls all the systems on the chair, and a display of 12 inches which is able to make the user readable as well as the uh, uh, as well as the other person to read what the person is about to say. It can also help the user to check his various emails and even use Skype. So I will pass on the baton to Anurag.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ariman. So now let us look at what exactly is the software like. Hawking's PC uses a special interface called the Easy Keys. Interface displays an on-screen keyboard and traverses through it one character at a time. When the person moves his or her cheek muscle, the IR sensor detects it and the computer pauses the scanner and picks up that character on the keyboard. The person may also switch from one button to another on a menu and select an item through the same procedure. Now let's talk about the accessibility and inclusiveness of this chair. As of now, the Edge 3 ALS wheelchair is considered to be the best ALS wheelchair. There are also many other options available, such as the forefront ALS wheelchair. However, the availability of these equipments are still difficult for normal people to get their hands on. A standard motorized wheelchair costs around $700 to $1,500. Even one like H3 doesn't have any features besides suspension and joystick control. Yet the chair specializes in every aspect to provide assistance and a sense of normality. Over to Danish now.
Thank you, Anurag, and hello everyone. Myself, Danish, and now I am gonna explain about its user experience and possible scope of improvements. This chair, as user experience is concerned, this chair provide great user experience to its users. Users can now communicate, express themselves, and interact with other people. Now people suffering from ALS can go to social function, have fun, and even play some kind of sports. So it brings joy to users' life. Users can monitor important information about their health. They can check the accessibility of the places that they visit significantly. They can also check the status of wheelchair like battery and other stuff. So this design has changed the life of users in much positive way. Users feel more empowered and sense of normality in their life. Now, scope of improvement. Like every other design, this also has scope of improvement. We can aim for identifying personal context, which requires combination of hardware and software that can check one's personal calendar, social network, and internet browsing habits. Intel, the company, is also exploring the use of facial recognition to create a new user interface that would be quicker than selecting individual letter words. They can also add the features of assistance which can let the users know that when they are supposed to be at appointment and whether they have enough cash or not. They can also create a user-based data like storage of user's voice and use it as the voice of the system in later. Next slide. These were the links of sites and resources that we have used in making our presentation. Next slide. So thank you everyone for listening us so patiently, and special thanks to Professor Raju Ratna Shah for providing this opportunity to us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And it was nice presentation. All three are very good. So keep it up and just try to think out of the box. And hopefully, I mean, you'll be able to come up with some good solution for the people in the next few years over here. And so all the best. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.